average consumer is getting crushed. What's up, everybody? Welcome aboard to Bubba's Bottom Line for Sunday, December the 7th. Can you imagine it? December already. In the meantime, the consumer is getting crushed, as we've seen by every metric that has come out. The average consumer. Again, we talk about the K-shaped economy and how that works out. Well, the average guy on the street, the average girl on the street is getting hammered, can't afford to pay their bills, building up massive amounts of debt, and nobody cares. We have morons running the Federal Reserve that are talking about cutting rates again, which will only send prices skyrocketing higher, creating potentially stagflation. We have jobs going away that are never going to come back. We have basically a big mess, and of course, a lot of it's due to what is creating the success in the stock market. Okay, again, I'm not unhappy about the stock market. I get it, but when your whole economy is based on 6 or 7 stocks, based on the market, and when you have the amount of damage that is actually being done to the consumer, to the worker, it does become a problem. And of course, we've seen massive layoffs from Amazon, from UPS, and others, and they will continue to come as we continue to see AI take the role and take the place. But what are the damages of AI? Well, I don't think anybody realizes the amount of energy and power. I mean, as the AI boom continues, they could shut out our lights. And I don't mean because we can't afford them, which is another problem because, of course, your energy prices are up 7% from a year ago. But what the real problem is that we don't have the power grid, we don't have the setup to handle all the power that it draws. If you all remember when Bitcoin was complaining at how much it cost to create Bitcoin, well, AI is using 10 or 20 times the amount of energy that Bitcoin used, and it's only growing every single day. So again, we have to do something. We have to go, and this comes back to our argument for nuclear power. This comes back to our argument for fixing the infrastructure and the power grid. But again, you at some point, something's got to give. Okay, I think when you look at the Challenger job reports, okay, we've lost another 71,000 jobs in November. Okay, I think that again, payrolls decline. It's the 5th drop in 7 months. Now we don't have the official government report yet. That won't be out till December 16th. And why we need to wait till December 16th, we'll see. But at the end of the day, people aren't working. When the people who are working, most are not making enough money. Goes back to, depending on where you live. Now, listen, if you live in a relatively, if you live in Vegas, okay, then 150,000, 200,000 a year is fine. But if you live in New York, California, Connecticut, Chicago, and any other major metropolitan area, it's like living in poverty. So we have to, obviously, there's things that has to be done. And one of the things that cannot be done, okay, is the federal rate cut, because it's going to overheat the economy. All right. And it's not overheating in a good way. It's going to, listen, we're going to end up with stagflation. If this continues, we're going to end up back in the era of Jimmy Carter. We're going to end up back in high interest rates, no jobs, and deflationary products, which hurts everybody. Again, we can talk about how the markets are going up, which we'll talk about in our market report, but we can talk about how the stock market is accepting it. But what I don't think people are paying attention to is the precious metals continue to skyrocket, and that's only saying that there's too much debt. The debt that you're allowed to now pass on for another couple of years, which only is going to increase the personal debt. I mean, again, small businesses drop over 120,000 jobs in November. Well, again, the core of this country is small business. The core of this country is not big corporations. Yes, I'm aware of big corporations, and I'm not against them. But the core of the business, the core of the country, is the entrepreneur, the ability to go out and build something and start from nothing and grow it into a big company. But we're losing that. We're destroying all that. And that's because of the cost. That's because of the way things are done and the way we do business. I think that it becomes a major problem. Okay. And the last thing you do when you have these problems is you don't cut rates. Okay. Again, you have a Federal Reserve that is clueless to a free market system. And this is indeed will become the bigger issue as we go on. Remember, mortgage rates have not come down. Okay. I mean, maybe they come down a quarter of a percent, but I mean, you're still, and again, they're not expensive. I mean, my first mortgage was north of 15%. But at the end of the day, at 6.5%, that shouldn't be outlandish. And the free markets will certainly tell you that they can be higher than that. But when the banks are being paid by the Federal Reserve not to lend you money, and you're still lending money, when we have the issues that we have, all you're really building is a bigger problem and spinning the debt out of control from the collateralized debt obligations that they continue to write derivatives on. I mean, it's the same story as when we were in 2008, writing derivatives on derivatives on derivatives. Okay. For those of you who understand, I don't have time to explain it now, but it's like selling teenies as a floor trader, which is never good. But again, we have enough problems, okay, to deal with, okay, and that doesn't talk about the other things, but we can't. People don't have the ability to go get a job. We're going to end up with this universal basic income, and this is another problem. And again, we go back into the benefits. We need the government to quit spending so much damn money. Okay. We need, the government creates debt. They don't create dollars. The taxpayers create the dollars. And of course, we need to have a little bit more fiscal responsibility at the top. Okay. And of course, with the World Health Organization just unveiled with the Gates the blueprint for global digital ID, AI-driven surveillance, and lifelong vaccine tracking for everyone. What happened to free America? Okay. Again, this is becoming a problem. This is the same as a student that was just recently vaccinated without his parents' permission. I think that we have our medical system is also horrible right now. Okay. You realize that you can't get an appointment basically with a doctor for like they're 31 days out, and that's in where there's a lot of doctors. And you go to the doctor, they don't look at you anymore. They look at their computer screen, taking notes and doing nothing. Now, again, I don't want to, I'm not knocking any doctors here. I understand what the system is doing, but the system is broken. The system is flawed. And the money being spent, especially on Medicare, and listen, I'm a Medicare recipient. I mean, I can't believe the things that I do so that they can make more money, that I have to do so they can make more money. I find it crippling, but I find it more crippling that crap Bill Gates wants to track everybody. I mean, and pretty soon they're going to put a chip in you like you do in your dog, so you can track where it is all the time. I just don't get it. Um, and of course, the climate change issues. Well, this found that they're very inaccurate. Okay, and I'm not saying there's not climate. Listen, I don't believe in climate change, but if you do, it's okay. This goes back to what we said earlier: nuclear power. You want to fix it, but it's always about the money. Let's be clear that things that are done are about money. They're not about you. They're not about protecting you. They're about getting into your pocket and about the money. Okay. And again, I think that when you look at this whole picture, it can be solved if you want to solve it, but you can't solve it if you don't fix it. Okay. And the cost of living, okay, is ridiculously high, and it's not coming down. And of course, we're all hearing the bragging about the holiday sales. We just set a record online, but also just in holiday sales in general. And again, that's great. But the real question is what is the profit on those sales, and how are they going to get paid? Because we talked about this last week that the credit card companies are allowing or encouraging you to move your balances over and don't have to pay your credit card till 2027. Okay. How many people do you think are getting in deeper than they can and much more debt between the 0% financing on cars, which is not 0%, over 7 years, between the pushing your debt that you have off for another couple of years? It's going to create a much bigger mess. And I think you're seeing a much bigger mess in the economy and in what's going on and the amount of people that aren't working. So to me, you've got a big mess. And this week, when the Fed has their meeting, if they cut rates, it'll make them even bigger morons than I thought. And I can't imagine, but certainly we'll see how it plays out. In the meantime, again, I think you can see the economy is, if you're on the lower end of the K, not very good. If you're on the upper end of the K, it doesn't really bother you. And I think you have to decide if you want everybody around you to be good, and not by socialism, but by allowing the free market to work instead of having it manipulated by a Federal Reserve and by the people around you. And this is Bubba's Bottom Line, Todd Bubba Horwitz. It is Sunday, December the 7th. We'll step out here for a break. We'll be back with our market report right after the break. Bubba's Bottom Line. What's up, kids? Well, everybody, as you know, we have sponsors for the show, and our sponsors are brokerage partners for the most part. And I do have other brokers, full disclosure, but I always like to share what I think is best. And of course, uh, our brokers partners are TRADIER Brokerage for your equities and options needs. Listen, say they save me $100,000 a month. Okay, bottom line, it's $10 a month. It saves me 100,000 a year. I think I said a month. Listen, $10 a month, full trading. Okay. And not only that, but most of our automated programs are all associated with Trader. Okay. I can't stress enough how much, when you're in business, you want to cut your costs, and Trader Brokerage is that. And of course, for futures and commodities needs, it's Capital Trading Group, CTG. Listen, they're great partners. They do a great job with our members. We've got some partnerships with them. I would certainly check them out. And of course, everything is on the slides trailing. And of course, and then our new product, the Joy of Mom, which is again is a new app for moms to go to and all kinds of things to do and check out. Please check it out. And of course, our high school program, which we're trying to save and help literate our people, our young people. Because certainly, if you look around what's going on, no bueno. In the meantime, let's get back to Bubba's Bottom Line and my market report right now. Welcome back. This is Bubba's Bottom Line. It is Sunday, December the 8th, December the 7th. And of course, we had a market that was, relatively, I don't know what to call it, relatively blah. During the week, we saw declining volume, very little movement. Markets were slightly higher for the week, but they are still at what we said would be the tops. So now we're going to see. This week will go a long way towards determining what's going to happen. We are right at the resistance of a secondary high, which we said if it couldn't take that high out, it would probably indicate that the tops were in. So we'll see how it plays from here. But they're still leaning to the upside. They're trying, and you've got some wild action. The gold and silver markets continue to go higher. Listen, too much debt, higher inflation. Those are the perfect storms for the metals to go higher. We did a webinar last week on the gold. How much higher can it go? Well, listen, there's no limit. But I always remind everybody that when I first started trading, the Dow was 800. Today, the Dow is 48,000. Okay. So just keep that in mind. The economy is not very good. The trading is not very good. The participation is not very good. The debt is high. The problems are high. So we'll see. In the meantime, we did on Friday flatten almost all of our positions because volatility and volume are drying up, and certainly for a trader, there's about 2 weeks left in the year, anyways, and we want to let the markets work. It looks like they're getting ready to make a huge move, and I believe it's going to be lower when you see the collapsing volatility and everything else. But we'll see. We'll see what it looks like. In the meantime, last week, as I said, the indices were higher. Not huge, just enough to annoy you because they didn't move far enough to get any real action. In the meantime, the dollar is pretty much stable. We're flat to dollar. We would be flat to dollar, but right now we're flat everything. But the euro currency is again another product is in mid range. I expect a stronger dollar, a weaker euro currency. Bonds and notes continue to fall a little bit, which means interest rates are rising. So in spite of the rate cuts that everybody's so hepped up on, interest rates continue to go up. Okay. In fact, interest rates are higher than when the Fed cut rates 3 weeks ago. Okay. Bitcoin under pressure. Again, it had a nice little bounce. Certainly, I like Bitcoin. I think it's good, but certainly it's in a bear market right now, and the key's gonna be somewhere around between 80 and 90,000. If it goes below 80, it's gonna get hammered even worse, and if it goes above, it could take it back. Uh, the metals continue to try to run. Now, again, they're not at their highs. They're kind of mid-range. They're kind of consolidating, but they are holding. Gold, silver, and platinum. Copper has made a big run recently and is breaking out. We'll see what happens here. I mean, there's an interesting when we know there's trouble in the building sphere, and you see that the home builders are making deals and there's problems there, but yet copper, which is a big item. But again, one of the things about copper, it's used in China, which who controls the London Metal Exchange, who controls copper, is used for loan values. So that could be part of the reason why it's being higher right now. But in the meantime, grain markets are struggling a little bit, but they're really just consolidating. And I expect to see, if we're going to get the inflation trade, I expect to see grain markets go higher. Uh, Cattle pushed up again on Friday. I would look to be a seller of cattle here. That's something different that we don't trade regularly. Hogs, I would stay out. Natural gas continues to push higher. There's a little bit of a short squeeze going on in natural gas. Uh, Look at right now, it closed on Friday at about 5.30. If it gets to $6, I'd probably be a seller. Okay. Crude oil just churning around, really just in consolidation, doing nothing. And the bottom line is the markets have got really quiet. There's not a lot to do. And again, remember, the economy and the stock market don't necessarily have to jive together. Okay. That's something that you have to remember. So, yeah, yes, the markets are higher, and I'm not upset. I like the markets higher. I'm hedged. I'm long anyways, but I can see the problems. The warning signs are clear. Okay. And it's up to you to identify and position yourself in a protected position so that you don't have to get out of your position and you can keep yourself in the markets. In the meantime, we'll see what happens. We expect quiet trade. We do have a Fed week, and then we have a jobs number next week, and of course, triple witching expiration. So we'll see how it plays out. In the meantime, this is Bubba's Bottom Line for Sunday, December 7th. We're going to step out here for a break, come back with our commentary, and of course, our football picks right after the break. Bubba's Bottom Line. Well, guys, just remember, again, I'm not going to go through the whole spiel. Just remember our sponsors, uh, TRADIER Brokerage, Capital Trading Group, The Joy of Mom, and our high school program. And, check them all out. They're all on the website down here. And in the meantime, let's get back to Bubba's Bottom Line and my commentary. Welcome back. It is Bubba's Bottom Line. It is Sunday, December the 7th. And of course, we always give you a little commentary, what we're thinking. And I got to tell you, now I bash the Fed on a regular basis. And again, I got to bash them again. Okay. Because at the end of the day, they have a meeting this week. And the idea that they would cut rates again when markets are near all-time highs is so dumb that it doesn't even make logical sense. And this just goes to show you that even though the Federal Reserve is supposed to be a private corporation, supposed to be a private corporation, it does not act independently. And as much as I like the president, and I do, I think that crying for rate cuts is wrong. I think the approach is wrong. And I think that the Federal Reserve, when they initiated the Federal Reserve in 1913, they started eliminating the true free market system. Okay. Because now it's not truly a free market when you have somebody controlling the rate and the value of currency based on what they can do. And that's so far from their mandate, I think that becomes a much bigger problem. And I think that the Fed was a mistake. I think that Woodrow Wilson got either conned or was in on it. At the end of the day, the Fed needs to be audited or ended because it does not benefit the system. It does not benefit the average American. It only benefits the banks. That's my opinion. I'm entitled to it. This is America still. And in the meantime, our football for the week, if you have any interests, we do like the Washington Redskins actually it's the Washington Commanders, excuse me. Okay. And we do like the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we do like the Philadelphia Eagles. Have a great weekend, everybody. As always, I thank you so much for being a part of Bubba's Online, and we'll see you back here tomorrow with Bubba's Daily Update. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you later.
Joy of Mom is a platform to connect mothers everywhere with trusted information, practical tools, and a vibrant, family-focused community.
Gold IQ Group, the smartest minds in metals, for all of your precious metals needs.
Capital Trading Group, the introducing broker for serious futures traders.
TRADIER, options trading starting at $10 per month, flat fee.